Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I want to just give you a quick tidbit, which is to not send assets you don't want posted. Now, that sounds very simple and direct, as it should, and yet you'd be surprised the horror stories I've seen. Now, before I get into all those horror stories, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already done so. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me. So let's talk about this, right? Oftentimes, there might be a situation, right, where let's say you're trying to, have someone design a website, right? Or someone's writing an article, and you'd be amazed at how many times someone just attaches multiple photos. Let's say, they're like, "Hey, I recently just did a photo shoot. Here's a link to the photo shoot and all of its photos," and boom, they send that off. And then they're surprised when whoever on the receiving end chooses a photo that they're not really fond of. It's like, well, by sending them all that, you literally gave them leeway to then choose from that batch. And so you can't be upset if they're choosing something that you don't like. So in order to protect yourself in that way, only send them what you would want them to use. Now, here's the interesting part. The reason I'm even talking about this is because very recently, I have a friend who works for a big company. It's a big platform, and there was a host that did something for them. And my friend let the host know of like, "Hey, send us the image that you want us to use when we promote this on social media." So that person, the host, sent an image to my friend. And then on the day of that I went live, it's posted all over social media with the image that was sent, right? What happens? Well, the host that had sent it didn't really like the image and text my friend of like, "Hey, is there any way we can change it? I really hate that image, actually." What? You're the person that sent that asset, meaning the host, to my friend. And it's just mind-boggling. And you'd be like, it sounds so weird, but it happens more than you think. And this is obviously an extreme example of that because the person sent like one particular image, and yet they didn't like it. Most times, as I said, people usually send like a batch of photos of like, "Hey, here's a couple that were just recently taken," boom, and then all of a sudden they're not happy with the ones that are picked. So the point of all of this is if you send someone, whether it's a video clip, whether it's a picture, whatever it is, make sure that that is the thing that you would want and be okay with posting, right? So because otherwise, then you can't really get upset. And the thing of it is, this doesn't necessarily protect you 100%, but there's times when I have to send work in progress to people. Whether it be, let's say, a movie poster, a pitch deck, a headshot, and so forth. So sometimes I might have to send something because someone needs it for, like, let's say, a placeholder or just to kind of glean at something. And so I make sure, to the best that I can, I write, in the subject line, "draft, blah, blah, blah. Do not use on the actual thing," or "placeholder for such and such," just to give you an idea. And then in the body of the email, I reiterate it and so forth. I label the picture as like, placeholder, not final, blah, blah, blah. And again, even that in itself is a risk because, they can, ultimately, if someone's mind slips, or if they're, in certain instances, maybe lazy, whatever the case may be, that might end up being the thing, even though it wasn't meant to be. And so in that sense, it's always better to be cautious versus not. So that's the lesson that I want to share with you today, because you'd be amazed. I shared a couple of the one specific horror story, but man, the ones that I've heard, whew, they, in some sense, luckily in hindsight, we can all kind of laugh about them, but man, in the moment, they're not fun for anybody. So that's the lesson. Anyway, thank you. If you have any specific questions, by all means, ask away, or if you want to share, please do so, whether down in the comment section or hit me up on social media. Likewise, if you think this episode might be a benefit to somebody, please share it with them. I certainly would appreciate it. I appreciate you. See you next time.